Hey, welcome to the Longmont Pastor video blog. It's great to have you with us again. This is a ministry of Whitefields Community Church. I'm here with Pastor Nick Cady, who is the author of the Longmont Pastor blog and also the pastor of Whitefields Community Church. And he is with us today, and we're going to talk about a few things. But first, Nick, what is the focus of your blog?
Yeah, the focus of my blog is really to discuss issues that people are discussing in our society at large and to bring the gospel into those conversations and show how the gospel alone gives a solution, the answer to all the things that we're dealing with.
Yeah, and we have a really good topic today to talk about. Currently, you're going through a series at church dealing with obstacles to the Christian faith and talking about things that, as you said, really matter for our society and things that we're talking about today. And one of those things is there a moral argument for the existence, or how do we argue for the existence of God?
Yeah, so I did a poll, and one of the responses I got, which I'm not able to directly address in the series because of time, but one of the questions I got was, somebody said, the reason I don't believe in God is because I just don't see any proof. And so the question would be, is there any proof for God? And the answer to that is, first of all, it absolutely matters whether or not there's proof for God. And secondly, yes, there is proof for God. So here's why it matters. It matters because Christian faith, I would say uniquely, is based on historical events and historical facts that happen with real people in real places in real time on a certain day at a certain place. And either they happened or they didn't. If they really happened, as the Bible says that they did, then that changes everything. If they didn't happen, then the Bible itself even tells us that we should disregard everything. And so it absolutely does matter if there is proof and these things. So we've been looking at some of the proofs for the Bible and its claims, but is there proof that God exists? There are several arguments. So there's not one that you can really point to and say, here is the one and only argument. This proves without a matter of a doubt that God does exist. I think that God actually designed it in a way that there would be a need for faith. But on the other hand, there are a number of arguments which, if you put them together, they create a very, very strong case for the existence of God. And one apologist that I read, he calls these the fingerprints of God. He says the fingerprints of God, and if you put them all together, if you are an investigator, you would determine at the end of the day, yes, there absolutely is a God.
Mm-hmm. And one of those arguments that we're going to touch on today is, can you make a moral argument for the existence of God? And then we'll move on to a different question.
Yeah, so like I said, there are several arguments for the existence of God. One is cosmology, but another one is moral argument, and that's actually a very, very good one. And absolutely, it's one of the very strong arguments for the existence of God is the existence of morality, the existence of ethics, the concept of right and wrong, points us to the fact that we are designed in a particular way, and there is a designer, and he has left his imprint on us.
Mm-hmm. And the question that from your blog, if I may read it, is morality an innate thing which people intuitively know, or is it a social construct?
Yeah, this is a question that everybody kind of deals with, and even amongst people who don't believe in God, they answer that question both ways. And so I'll just explain what that means. Some people would say the concept of right and wrong is determined by a particular culture, right? Like, so some cultures think cannibalism is an awesome thing, and some cultures don't. And they say, well, is cannibalism right or wrong? Well, I don't know. That's just kind of determined by your culture. The other people would say, you don't necessarily even need God, for example, to know what's right and wrong. Just everybody innately knows right and wrong. Like, you know that it's wrong to punch people in the face or steal things. Everybody knows that. We don't need God to tell us what we just innately know.
Mm-hmm. And one of the interesting things that I read in one of your blogs based on this topic is the Darwinian view of us. If we basically our current worldview that we have is that we are the survival of the fittest. Those humans are walking the earth today. We're here because we somehow have survived and made it to this far. But if we developed our current social structure based on that logic, wouldn't we be destroying each other?
Absolutely. We do not follow that logic, and so we have to ask ourselves if we really believe it. And so we don't follow that logic at all. I mean, the fact that we don't just let the weakest in our society die or be killed off by the strong people, that we don't allow that kind of thing. It points to the fact that we do believe something beyond. We do believe that there are moral values. And we believe that, for example, that there are certain things which are wrong no matter who does them or where they're done. So even if a culture does a certain thing, we might say, well, that's wrong, right? So there are some cultures in Africa where non-consensual male-initiated sex, we call it rape, is regularly practiced. Does that mean it's okay? Well, even if they say, well, this is what we do. No, I think everybody would say, no, that's wrong, right? There are certain things which everybody agrees are wrong. And really what this gets down to, if you say that morality is a social construct, then what happens is that morality is nothing more than an opinion, right? Like, you've got your opinion, I've got my opinion. I think it's okay to steal things from elderly people and push them onto the ground in front of buses, and you don't. And we can't really argue beyond that. But if you then say, well, then no, it's something innate, like everybody knows it's wrong to push old people in front of buses, then we are actually talking about something else, which would lead us to the conclusion that there is a God. And my point is, nobody actually believes that morality is a matter of opinion at the end of the day, which leads us to the point that morality points us to the fact that there's a God, that there's a design, that we know certain things, that God has left his imprint on us.
And that there's an outside standard by which we are living our lives, right?
Right.
And didn't C.S. Lewis, I think in his book Mere Christianity, he alludes to that fact when we're arguing about something, or you want this, you want that, we always seem to come from the perspective that there is an outside standard by which we're judging whether this thing is right and wrong.
Right. It's almost as if there's an agreed upon set of rules, right? Like, that's how he puts it, that, like, hey, I was here first. Or, hey, you can't take that. Or, hey, you promised, and you got to keep that promise. So that we all somehow agree that there are certain standards and rules, and we get upset when people don't keep them. And that just points to the fact that there is an outside objective morality.
And what about? We see, I would say, a lot of hypocrisy on this topic from our current society. How they judge. How they judge morality. Can you give an example of this kind of, you would say, schizophrenia or so?
Yeah. So here's one example. In the 1960s and 70s, we had the youth movement, and along with that came this idea of the sexual revolution. And the sexual revolution, young people are essentially saying, hey, don't try to impose your morality on me. That can be your morality, but it's not my morality. I choose my own morality. And in the same breath, those young people looked at the Vietnam War and the U.S. government, and they said, what you are doing is immoral. Dropping napalm on villages is immoral. It's immoral to drop bombs on innocent people. So in one sense, they're saying there is no objective morality, and in the very same breath, they're saying, but I have an objective morality which you need to conform to. And if you would tell them, well, hey, that's just what you think. You just think that, but that's not how it is. They would say, well, no, it really is wrong to drop bombs and napalm on people. In other words, that's where you're saying that even people who say, well, I create my own morality, at the end of the day, they don't. Everybody agrees that morality is not just a matter of opinion.
Exactly. Yeah, we have to have that outside standard by which to judge our lives, and God has given that outside standard through His Word. And this is a topic that many people have written many thousands and thousands of pages on and debated over, and it's something you really should look into, the moral argument for God. And we'll have a bunch of resources connected to this video for you to go look and read. And we invite your comments, nickcady.org. Like and subscribe. That's his blog and our YouTube channel as well. And we look forward to hearing from you. God bless.